Anyway.
Well, hear me out, Tim. Just
Yep.
hear me out on this one. I think I can speak for all gamers when I say this, that we would have been better off had the current generation GPUs actually offered an improvement, a noticeable improvement in cost per frame. Like, imagine instead of getting fake frames, interpolated frames, FSR3, DLSS3, just imagine for a moment if we got 40% more performance at the same price. So instead of a 4060 Ti costing as much or more than a 3060 Ti and being slower in a handful of games and at best about 5 to 10% faster, imagine if it cost the same amount but was 40% faster. Would that have been better than DLSS 3?
Well, yes. I mean, obviously, yes.
So
right?
This is what annoys me when you get all these guys on r/hardware and r/NVIDIA and r/AMD, all of the fanatics, all of the really enthusiastic guys, and they just beat each other over the head all day about what's better, like how good frame generation is or which GPU is better, AMD, NVIDIA. I don't care. Just stop it. Like, we should be all on the same page. We don't want crappy GPU releases. We don't want to go backwards in some situations, and we don't want the cost per frame to just stay the same after 3 years. We don't want to be distracted. It's like almost like political plays. Like, we don't want to be distracted by all this noise and garbage. What we want is for GPUs to become faster, and then that solves the higher refresh rate problem and all the stuff you've been talking about, because you're actually getting more performance than you would have been otherwise. And then you hear all these ridiculous excuses like, oh, they're doing the best they can. You know, they can't sell that GPU for any less. And yeah, so anyway, it's just
it's just like that's total BS.
yeah. If you believe that,
absolute garbage that they cannot sell those products for less.
Yeah.
It's just so not true. But yeah, I think it sort of comes back to the discussion about these companies cheating in these sort of performance charts and things like that. It's like, what's easier for a company to do? Is it improve the cost per frame, which may end up reducing margins or mean that they have to put in more work, or maybe they can't increase the margins as much as they want to? What's easier, doing that?
Keep the margins the same.
Or keep the margins really high and inflate them as much as possible, make the GPUs weaker, and instead sell you a frame generation technology. Like, I'm not saying that frame generation requires no work. Like, obviously you have to pay developers to create that feature. You have to make sure your hardware supports the feature. Now, AMD has proven that really any hardware can support a frame generation feature. So that's pretty much a solved problem. But the software side of things requires resources. But come on, like, is it? What makes them more money, right? Paying the developers to create frame generation or reducing margins?
They've got a cost per resources graph, and NVIDIA is looking at it going, yes, we know what our move is here. We will sell them software-based technologies, and then we will jack up our margins on the silicon through the roof, and the good times will keep rolling. And that's clearly what's happened. Like, we've been saying this for how long now? I guess I'm just uninterested in arguing about FSR3 and DLSS 3. I want to actually see better GPUs that we can get excited about again, recommend and buy, and not just be like, well, because we were just talking about the RTX 4060 Ti. There's the 8GB version, the 16GB version is now $50 more. You would clearly spend $50 more to double your VRAM with the clamshell design, because much more future-proof. But you wouldn't recommend either $400 for 3060 Ti-like performance with this. It's bad. It's really bad. I mean, we've been recommending RDNA 2 across the board. It's like, well, you can buy an RTX 4090, there's the 4080, 1700 XTX, and then the further you go down, it's like, well, we probably should just buy RDNA 2. So that's not good after 3 years.